Hey YouTube, it's MrLuBuFu. Wanted to say something that my 200th subscriber video got delayed again. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. Yeah, no, I'm very depressed. Things are just not working out. It will happen, hopefully next week. So to help fill the void, I decided I'm gonna publish a nice, long video. Make something that I think would be useful for a lot of people. And that's going to be how to win at drafts. I am mostly a limited player. I've been drafting for about 6 months now, so it might not seem like a long time. But in 6 months, my record is 42 wins, 17 losses, and 5 ties. And all 5 ties were in the final round so that I could split packs. So, and in every single one of those rounds, when I played them, I beat them. So you can think of it as 42, 17, and 5, or 45 and 17. So I'm pretty good at draft. That's the one thing I can do. I'm not very good at constructed. I'm not able to know what decks to play and how to play them. I'm still learning the kinks of pure steel, because there's all these little things I need to keep learning and about what hands are good to keep, etc., etc. But draft is something I'm good at. So I decided I'm gonna make the how to win draft primer. So this is true for pretty much any set. This is gonna be probably a new series. I'm gonna do one of these long, elaborate discussions of the set. Every time a new one comes out, and I'm going to start with Innistrad, but I'm going to start with general drafting strategy. That's going to be this video. I'm going to put a link to specifically Innistrad and how I define cards, how you should play it, etc., etc., because every set's different, right? M12 was extremely fast, high removal, etc. Innistrad is very creature heavy and dependent on very removal light. So let's start with just some general drafting tips. So I go into every draft with one of two mindsets. I either go in with A, I want to win, or B, I want a rare draft. Because you really can't do both. Generally, and by generally I mean always, I want to go to win. I want to go and open pack. I want to be able to win packs, open them on camera, show you guys what I win, etc. And I enjoy winning. I'm a competitive person in that sense, and I want to play to win. So that means, for example, this last draft, I opened 2 or 3 dual lands, and I passed every single one of them for commons. So value-wise, I don't get quite the same in cards. I will tell you, if I open Garruk or Liliana in like pack 3, and I'm not black for Liliana, and I was splashed for Garruk because I'm greedy like that, but I would take those. There's a limit to how much I'd rare draft. But it's if it's that much of it pays for 1 to 2 more drafts, that's my breaking point. Otherwise, I play to win. So you have to be able to know what you're going into. I mean, if you see some, like in M12, if you see pacifism versus I don't know what's a fun rare. Let's go with the 12/12 dragon. Right? It's not super valuable, right? It's a couple bucks, but the question is, are you willing to take a couple bucks in the form of that card, or to take arguably pacifism? Again, depending on all the decks you might have, maybe the 12/12 giant dragon's better for your deck. I'm not saying that pacifism's always better. I just can't think of another rare off the top of my head that's worth rare drafting. I know I often face that problem with specific cards I need in decks, but they're like $1 rare or something like that. So if you're going to go play the rare draft, you have fun, enjoy yourself, yeah, you can still follow these tips, and you might build a solid deck. It might not be as good. For example, I've passed so many rares these past couple weeks in draft. Any player who wants the cards will get mad at me for it, but that's completely different tangent. Anyway, so from there, you have to be able to, okay, let's say you're playing competitively, or you want to win. You want to win. You want the points, for the Planeswalker points, or you want to win some spectacular shiny prize that they're offering. I don't know, whatever the case may be. So from there, there's this acronym I follow, which has been solid. It's BREAD, BREAD. So it's exactly as it sounds, and it's my picking order for specific cards. So B is bombs, R is removal, E is evasion, A is like an average card, and D is like a dreadful card. And the definition of what cards are bombs and which cards are average comes down to a person, right? Of course, it's not like a card must be a bomb or it must be average or removal, right? There are some cards that are surprisingly really, really good, but not quite on the level of bombs. So you have to estimate from there. But that's how I take it. So if I open pack 1 and there's an okay rare, there's, let's say, Innistrad, right? There's the 1/1 vampire that can't be blocked by humans that gets a +1/+1 counter if it deals damage. You've got the Bonds of Faith, which is equivalent to pacifism against all non-human decks. And then you say you've got a Deadweight. Deadweight's also solid. So there, and then all the rest is just junk. Let's go with that. Like, you got a 3/2 flyer in there in Moon Heron, or 2/2 flyer in Abbey Griffin, etc. So, the 1/1 vampire I actually don't see as a bomb. I see he's an okay guy. Because you gotta think of it this way, right? If you get him out turn 1, yes, solid guy. You swing in for 1, and then you can swing in for 2 unless they immediately removal him. So yes, in that sense he's good. But otherwise, I don't see him that strong. So unless you're already in red, I would avoid him, and I would take probably the pacifism. Simply because there's so many big creatures and Innistrad, blah blah blah. So it's all about breaking down bombs, removal, evasion, and then an average, and then just, you do not want to run any dreadful cards, and the problem comes with, you know, what some people value as good versus others. And so, like, generally I see good cards as, can you get 2 for 1s? It's a magical phrase that says, for your 1 card do you get a 2? So, for example, Think Twice is a 2 for 1 in the sense that you play it once, you draw a card, so that's cycling, so that's 1 for 1. But then if you're able to flash it back later, you got 2 cards for your 1. Or, let's say, they're attacking, or you're attacking and they double block or something. And in response to them naming blockers, you kill one of their things. You trade 1 piece of removal for a creature, and then if it's a good trade, your attacking creature will destroy theirs. So then you 2 for 1 them. Right? It's all about getting value for what you get, and 2 for 1 is very, very good. It's why mind control is so insane. Is you can 2 for 1 or easily 3 for 1 if you have the right card, which I've done before. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So that's my order pick. I'm gonna put little link somewhere on this page, maybe right here, where I start breaking down Innistrad cards. I'm gonna try and go through the whole set. So it's going to be a very lengthy video, and I'll say, you know, what cards are good, what are bad. I've had A sealed and 2 drafts of experience, and from that I'm mostly comfortable with the set. I can name I can say most of the cards with a decent amount of certainty whether or not they're good, with my own personal bias, of course. But there's some cards that have just like formed some insane combos. It's like I was able to play the -4/-4 Banshee, which is pretty good. No, it's really good. I essentially played 8 of them. Like, my 8 turns consisted of playing 8 of them in some combination, because I would play it and use a sack outlet and play Unburial Rites to bring it back and kill one of their guys, etc., etc., and it recurred over and over and over again. It was nuts. He raged so much. Anyway, tangents aside, so I'll put a link to that. I'm going to break down Innistrad. It's going to be a lengthy video. I'm going to have to to get a nice drink of water before I do that one, because it's a nice big set. But, so there's that. Next thing is deck building. So, once you have your cards and you're pretty comfortable with what your pool, you have to be able to build your deck. And this is where stuff can get very, very difficult. You want to avoid, like, 3-color deck. You want to avoid the equally spread out your lands among a 3-color deck, 4-color deck, or even a 5-color deck. This is not Ravnica. Ravnica, you could pull it off because of all the mana fixing, but I haven't seen a set since that lets you do that. Scars of Mirrodin kind of pushed it because there were so many artifacts. I would splash for 3 or 4 colors, but that's different. It would be a splash as opposed to solidly going in the color. So what you really want to do as you're drafting is, if you pack one, pick one, you open a solid piece of removal or a great bomb, you want to start taking just that color. Any good cards of that color going around. You don't want to jump into a second color right away. You want to keep your options open. So at pack 2, you get to see what gets passed to you, and then you want to try and form a basis of 2 colors. You want to build a 40-card deck. I push the limit sometimes at 41 because I goof around and I love playing a 41-card deck. But you want 40. 40, make sure you get your cards with a higher probability. You never want to run more than that. Generally, you have somewhere between 16 and 18 land, depending on the size of your curve. For those of you who don't know, I'm trying to make this as an intro video. A curve is if you spread your cards out by converted mana cost. It should form, like, let's see, this is 1, and this is, wow, my camera's reversed. This is 6, right? You want it to be low, and then it curves out somewhere around 2 to 3. Maybe even 4. I had 4, so I played slightly more lands. So you want to be able to have a nice curve. You don't want to have like 6/1 drops and then 5/6 drops and then really nothing between. You want your cards kind of spread out so you can play something every single turn and get the tempo you can. If you're gonna splash, you really don't want to put in more than 2 to 3 of that land. Splash means you have 1 to 2 cards of a color that's really strong. Like, for example, Fireball in M12, if you're going green-white for some reason. You splash for Fireball, so you play 2 mountains. You very, very rarely want to splash for a card with double in the mana cost. So something that's double red, for example, would be really hard to pull off unless, of course, you got mana fixing, which in Innistrad's kind of weakened a little bit. So you want to hold off on that. And then, so that's the general deck building tips. Is you want to form a solid 40-card deck. You want about 22 to 24 playables, and 16 to 18 land. As for the ratio of creatures, I always like to have about 14 to 16, but it all depends on the deck. For example, we had 2 drafts, one after another. In one draft, I had 4 Bonds of Faith, or 4 pacifisms, essentially, in that deck. So I had fewer creatures, but they were just bigger guys, so I played the control output. Whereas in the second draft, I played blue-black zombies, played a kind of aggro deck, so I played, I want to say it was like 16 creatures, and no, more than 60 creatures, like 18 creatures, and the rest was all spot removal. So this is where, based on the cards you've drafted, it takes a little bit of flexibility. But always, the top 3 are bombs, removal, evasion. Evasion meaning, I don't know if I explained that. Flying. Flying's pretty good. It's really good. If you draft the mono flyers deck, there's very little people can do about it unless they got some serious sideboard options. So, drafting skies is always a viable archetype no matter what set you're in. So that's something to keep in mind. So those are going to be my general tips for drafting. I'll put my specific Innistrad description in a link to the side. And if you want, feel free to leave any questions down below in the comments. This video, I will make an honest effort to answer every single comment, every single question. I want to help you guys win some drafts, right? Let me know how you do, and I'll keep posting how I've done. Currently, as I said, I'm 4-1-1 in Innistrad, and then 42-17-5, which is like a 70% winning percentage. So 70% of the time in a draft, I will win the game, or the match, not the game, the match. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but there you go. So thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe. I suggest if you want, a decent Innistrad. Limited. This is strictly limited, so it's not going to be constructed value. So if you want to have a limited description of the set, I suggest I'll put the link again right here. That you check it out. I'll put the link in the description too, because I mean this is going to be a nice, really long video going over all the colors, all the cards, one at a time. So it's going to be a doozy of a video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe. Leave anything you want to say. If you think I'm a complete moron and that I don't know how to draft, tell me. And I would love to hear your opinions. And yeah, I'm just stalling for time. Oh right. I was gonna say, yeah, if you think specifically on the Innistrad one, if you think I give a different opinion of a card, you can put your opinion. Again, this is a strictly limited viewpoint. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to let you guys go back to whatever it is you're doing. So thank you guys for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and yeah.